Hello, everybody. This is the best display of old Tartorian Melbourne, old world Melbourne, the old builders. This is the best display I've ever seen, and this could be the photographer Charles Daniel Pratt, but that's when he passed away in '68, which makes him 76. So I don't think he was up taking pictures when he was 72 to 74. I don't think he'd be up much older, much past his 40s doing it. But let's go and have a look. All right, this is Q. uh, North Kew, East Kew. It's the junction of Burke Road and High Street, and the where the railway line would run around up to Deep Dean, but it doesn't seem to be built yet, which makes me think: A, what's he hovering in? B, how close to the ground are they in these aeroplanes built in the 20s? If he's not in that hovering machine, I don't know what else he'd be in. And what year is it really if the train line's not built? Because that was meant to be built in the 19th century. And there's only a tiny wee bus there. And they've got up their poles and their power lines, but I'm not convinced. And this one here, it's got some Moorish architecture down on the bottom left. St. Paul's spires are going in. The buildings on the right are still there, like the Forum. What's the building on the top right? The one that's sitting above a sandcastle. What's going on there? This building's sitting up above on sand, hidden behind facades, but it looks it's too high for those facades. They need to, I don't know what they're doing. It looks sandcastle to me. And this one here, can you see the sandcastle buildings in this? I'll bring them up. There on the right hand side is a little fairy village opposite grand buildings, and what looks like an energy source is connected into those buildings somehow. So they're all fed some energy, and behind it there's another sandcastle going on with some underground canals being dug out, or above ground canals. And this is 1926, 1927. Look at how built up it is. Look at that. And that's just that side without showing inner Melbourne. I mean, the library's built within that time because there's nothing there in the 1880s. And there's all those smokestacks. This is Spring Street looking up towards Parliament and Treasury Building. We'll have a look at Collins Street and Stephen Street, or Exhibition Street. So there's some old buildings in there, and there's some new ones too. For the one on the left hand side looks a bit plain and 50s. And here's some very, what, 10-story buildings here, 10, 15-story buildings, perhaps 12-story buildings right up there. Look at that corner. That's where the Hyatt is. Look at those buildings that they tore down. That's where the two churches are. You can see St. Michael's, I think it is, and St. Andrew's. That's Market Street. So don't believe the dates as if they really mean anything, because the buildings have been getting pulled down all the time. They say this is being built here. I reckon it's getting facelift because it's Moorish. They've facelifted a lot of them when they own the country. That's Russell Street and Collins Street. There's those two churches I mentioned, St. Michael's, I think, and St. Andrew's. And that's Hyatt, or the Hilton Hyatt. Some of those buildings are there. See, look at all how congested it is in there. There's been so much activity going on. Just incredible. Now to give us a bit of a reality check, that's the footy. Look at the cars. That's Albert Park Lake. Big turnout at the footy. St Kilda Junction, the Junction Oval, and lots for the eye to take in there. Lots of images. There's the junction before the Nepean was put through. Coming in from the east, looking over Parliament all the way down through Melbourne town and North Melbourne. Some old worldly buildings in there. It'd be amazing to see that today. Now 5059. Makes no difference. Those buildings were there in 2029. So what's he? Just goes up for a flight to document what Melbourne would look like if it wasn't for Wheel and the Wrecker. See, it's very still images for such a big clumsy camera with such high resolution for its format. Looking down, Elizabeth, William, and King. There's Queen Vic there. And that's the soccer ground in the middle with the light towers. That's what I believe anyway. And it created its own energy to run the towers, and they've blackened it themselves, or they've been burning coal there. Quite an aerial shot looking all over Melbourne to the south, over the law courts. Hmm. Now looking northeast or east northeast, up over the railway yards, up Elizabeth, up Collins, up Latrobe, along William. That's just a few buildings I thought I'd zoom in on, just for some variety. See what was happening down around Kingsway. Looking to the east. Just another zoom up of some images. Pay attention to those window frames. I try to find as much Moorish stuff as I can, just to know that the Moors were here. Another picture over the law courts. Oops. There we go. Over the law courts. And some other amazing buildings. Quite high again. 1938. A lot of old, look at those ones to their backs to us. Like little houses, little theatres or something. See, the streets look like they've been cleaned, and it doesn't look like there's very much traffic going on them. Like they've finally got the place nice and clean, and they've quarantined everyone. See, the churches aren't being finished. Now we're heading out Elizabeth Street, Queen Vic. This picture's got little scratches and marks on it that they've put on themselves. Some old warehouses around Latrobe and Queen Vic. It's an air spy picture. Some amazing buildings in there. All over Melbourne again, looking to the east. Some of them look quite grubby, which is only from the coal dust blowing all over them. Because before that, they were pristine white, like it is in illustrated Melbourne. Everything's just beautiful and white, granite. There's a lot of oddities in these pictures. Looking at from Spencer Street, looking east from West Melbourne. They call it West Melbourne, I believe. That's King's Way. There's a lot of industry down there, but it would have been clean energy. You can see where the coal stackers are there, but that was clean energy. That's South Melbourne. Peel Street, not Peel Street. But I can't remember anymore. Pickney. Good old South Melbourne. That's strange looking warehouses. Look at the way it's built out. They've really engineered that whole area. That's the Spencer Street Bridge being built. The old, look at that beautiful old buildings on the other side. And you can see in the foreground the old carriage storage sheds for the royalty where they kept their trains. Oh no, that's the other side. Yeah, it's to the left hand side. The, the buildings are to the left hand side. That's looking across to the fish market. And well, that's a railway station on the left hand side. They call it City West. And that was a station there as well, which is all covered up, as you can see from there. That's City West, the bottom right, or the middle right. And I'd say they were going to extend that out and just redesign it so all the trains went straight into there and the platforms came out because they were doing anything they felt like. Some more. There's the Federal Coffee House on Kingsway and Collins Street. There's the station again. Hmm. Now, on the right hand side, you'll see those two sheds, which are actually platform, I think, 13 and 14, that were just stranded out there for ages because they never finished building what was probably going to be that City West Railway terminal. But these are the sheds on the bottom that were for the carriage storage for whoever the royal people were. We don't get to see inside them, only the one they preserved. There they are again looking the other way, and you can see the old buildings just at the foot of them. Which they're getting rid of all those buildings along there. That's Melbourne, I think. Melbourne. And there you can see it. I don't know if it's that dirty. You can see a lot of the stuff's all nearly gone now. So they'd just be burning coal continuously. Doesn't even look like there's windows in it. So that's Collins Street. Some nice buildings in there. Collins Street. Mm. Market Street with the market there. Well, that's the market. When it was an old world. See, 1960 probably is. But these buildings have been preserved. Talking about preserving them now, or getting the homeless out and putting them in the housing commissions. That's the GPO. And that's the corner of, I think, Elizabeth Street and Swanson. Hmm. Oh, and there's the Eastern Market and a few more old buildings. More aerials. I'd say they'd be looking up Swanson Street. Some funny old ones in there. That's back looking down Elizabeth towards, well, it's meant to be Myer, I think. Now this is Russell Street Police Headquarters there on the left, and Public Library. Royal Melbourne Hospital. See, that's just 55. I don't believe it. I don't believe he took the pictures or even exists. So that's looking over North Melbourne, over the Royal. There's no photographs of it being built, just photographs of it built. With its power source on the left. I think that's Elizabeth Street with the shot tower in the middle. Just there. So that's what it looked like around Melbourne Central. until they turned it into Melbourne Central. So that's Myers there. And that's Queen Vic coming down Kingsway into North Melbourne. That's that Catholic place, the monastery, Catholic school. There's another image. I was mentioning they make it damaged on the bottom to give it that artificial look of being nostalgic. Whereas that's pretty old school pictures, those. It's pretty rough and tough, that. So that could be another pitch in the background there with a stadium and places to sit and watch the soccer. The Queen Vic. It's hard to say. Or it's the market. Now I think this is Geelong. Looking over Geelong. Just some interesting old buildings in Geelong, a bit more cowboy, a bit more west, wild west. And then we get a big change into these types of buildings. All sorts of oddities. And now we get like Queenslanders with Victorian terraces and Cornish cottages. It's all there. But no one knew what they had when they were alive to know that it was going to be taken from them. Like now, our apathetic way doesn't make us realize what we're going to lose. It's a connection to the past. Understanding how these people built these things, why they built them, what drove them, how they came up with these designs. So it's got the carriage sheds there still. See, it's so beautiful. This is Bendigo. Whoops, that's all right. Some nice buildings in Bendigo. That's Swan Street Bridge and Herring Island, I think they call it, where they're engineering the flood to look at all the mud that's been gathered and caught up in that area. It's spooled around. I think something going on to the left hand side, some sort of tunnel. You can see how they've engineered the riverway, the canal. That's South Yarra, looking down towards Punt Road. There's some nice buildings in there. That's where all the rich Moors lived. Now this is a trick photography, but I do believe there is pictures of the energy coming from Electric City, with the visible conscious ectoplasma sort of energy going into the aerials. It's all possible. if you have a higher belief. But what's really going on here? You can see the point of the star where they're making the MCG like a five-pointed star for Cirrus. But it looks like they only got to the one star. They were doing some gigantic sort of map, as we can see from this. There's triangles, there's all sorts of things going on. There's information everywhere. And some lucky people had houses there. This is Tottenham, or White City, with what looks like something. Again, I call it the ear of the earth. They're making these ears for the earth so we can listen. But that's Sunshine Road. That's Caulfield. You can see in the lake, they have those shapes. It's actually the serpent, or it looks like a bunny rabbit head. It's all to do with the serpent, just worshipping the serpent, having a serpent face, some sort of animal like a duck's face or something, some sort of face, always having a face. You can see how dirty Parliament is there. So I zoom up on these buildings. I think the fire station's in there, or they took another one down. No, it's the fire station, but I don't believe it is the fire station. That's St. Pat's and all the beautiful buildings around St. Pat's. St. Patrick's Cathedral, Fitzroy Gardens. Some convent. Now this is interesting. What's on the roof of this big building? Those little sails. Another convent. Just flying over Melbourne. Leisurely taking pictures. It'd be so difficult in a plane like that. There's the chevron. Whenever that was built. This is a building in Brighton. That was definitely a Moorish building or some sort of Arabian building that they stole, where they played tennis and went swimming at the beach and whatnot, and did beautiful patterns. It's a nice old building. Now we get into some factories. I think that's Brighton May again. This little garden. Oh yeah, it's got the house for the Cremorne Gardens. That was where Cremorne Gardens were. And they just killed it. Killed it first up. And you could live within your working area, like you're living amongst a factory because you love going to work, because work is for free, because you love it. Now, this year, in the very foreground, is the railway line to Sunshine, the Bunbury Street tunnel. It looks like it's just been left to fall into ruin. The whole area around Yarraville there looks like it's in ruin. The Yarra's still breaking its banks. It's just filthy. It's all smashed up. I just left it like that until people moved in and did it up. Cheltenham Gasworks, again, having these gas factories, gas turbine factories, they must have been safe or they wouldn't have put them up where there were so many residents because the old world people weren't capitalists. See, this is old world tech being built, but having to conform with coal burning. But you can still see how clean everything looks. So I don't think they're coal burning. Look how clean the roof is. They're just doing clean burns. Just clean burns. And you can see where the mud, this is meant to be power factory or the powerhouse. But I don't think it's, I reckon this was pre-built, this powerhouse. It looks too much, there's too much work gone into that. It's the 1920s to have that all completed by whatever year that is. And here they are excavating the railway line to Deepdean from Fairfield. And what year is this meant to be? This is the 1800s. Because the next scene, you can see it going over the railway bridge there, and you can see it's all, well, they've got to dig it out. That railway line's all mudded over, and there's all mud everywhere around there. Whereas in this picture now the road's open and the railway line's closed. So we go from the railway line being constructed to the railway line's closed, and it still looks run down. I don't think they ever got it really open, and all they're doing there is mulching paper. Again, clean factories, I believe, because there's no waste anywhere. Those roofs look pretty clean. And here, Bendigo, all the soil on the left hand side, all the embankment here on the right hand side, along with the coal stage. Now they can drive under the coal stage because the coal stage was always a ground level. They just had to excavate down. They didn't really have to build it up. And looking at some factories here with strange long beams like a hydrogen collider. What's that? And what's going on there with those three? One, two, three, four factories all joined together. They just got a big hydraulics cable running along the roof. They just use hydraulics. Another clean factory. I never thought they'd disappear. Their homes all in the backyard there. What are they? There's old sheds and new sheds, new factories and old factories, clean ones and dirty ones. But those sheds look like they've survived the flood, whereas these sheds look like they're brand new. And there's some more earthworks around the waterways in regards to some sort of serpent head, something looking back on itself, some sort of creature. Here's Geelong again. There's some fun ride in the middle of it there. Now this is meant to be storm damage. Like something's gone sweeping through there. Some hell of a thing. There's the Herald Sun. Some of its tech up on the roof. It's even got Herald written up there to show that it's just not really what it was like. They wouldn't have written Herald up on that. That's some hydraulic fluid storage with huge big pipes around the corner. This is Station Pier. Look at how modern it looks. All the trains on the bridge, because this is before they'd completed the other piers, whatever it's called, P&O piers and that. Look at this picture here. What great design this is. And where those other carriages look like they're running off underneath the sea. I mean, there's so much work gone into all that. Consider that it all just went to waste. They just worked their asses off. That's General Motors Holden. Steam powered ship. And that's what they're building. So that's why they're building it for bigger boats, waiting for America's big boats to come because they're probably not on the American market that much for the bigger boats. But look at all the sand and dredging. Look at all that built up sand. That's Williamstown. Some of it dirty, some of it clean. A lot of rail sidings. And this is a test service station. Union is actually short for unicorn. Unicorn is what union stands for. So it's not a real word. Union. Unicorn. Shell service here. See, he paints behind, he puts the signage behind everything to make it look so legitimate. Service here. Ear. Service ear. Because we're not using here yet. We're using ear. Service ear. Essendon. Yeah, and he's probably painted onto it. See, these are the airplanes he's getting about in with a big camera. I doubt it. Just flying down that close. I doubt it. And this is a big old homestead, the ones that have systematically removed every rock and smashed them up in quarries. See what's going on in the background there? some sort of old place built into the wall, into the land. Something's weird about that. What about this? How weird's that? Parliament House. Look at the gardens and everything that was around Parliament House in the day. There was so much happening in Parliament House. There's people there. Must be the opening of Parliament House. The shrine. Doing up the shrine for whatever that's really a remembrance for. Could be something. All the people that died in the Great Flood. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed all those pictures. And leave a comment if you want to talk about any of them. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.